You've been thinking about moving to Miami. Maybe you were actually close to making that happen, but then you hesitated. And now with all these headlines about prices falling, part of you actually feels good about it. Like the wait actually paid off. But here's the problem. You're probably looking at the wrong numbers. The Miami that's falling and the Miami that you'd actually buy in are two different markets right now. Only one of them is actually on sale, and it's not the one that you probably want. So let me show you what actually decides what you'll pay every month, why the negotiating room that you've been waiting for is already on the table, and when waiting is actually the smarter call. By the end, you'll know whether waiting is a real plan for your family or just a delay that's quietly costing you. And real quick, in case we haven't met, my name is Roque Castro, and I've spent over 15 years helping families just like yours make smarter decisions about buying, selling, and relocating here in Miami. If you want the real read on what this market actually means for your own move, my contact is down in the description below. So here's the thing, you're not deciding whether Miami is the move anymore. You already know that it is. You're stuck on when to make that move. And every headline that you read out there is handing you one more reason to actually wait. And look, I get it. Nobody wants to buy right before a drop. But here's the thing. I'm in these numbers every day, and there's one thing that the headlines actually keep leaving out. Miami prices are falling, and that we actually know to be true. It's just not the whole sentence, because Miami isn't just one market. It's two markets, and right now, they're moving in opposite directions. Right now, condos are where the falling prices are, down about 3% from where they were last year, with a supply of over 12 months just actually sitting there right now. And that is an actual buyer's market. So if you're shopping condos honestly, you've got time and room to actually push on price. But you're probably not buying a condo, because here's what we see. Because most families coming from out of state actually want a single family home, a yard, a garage, room for the kids to actually be loud. And single family homes in Miami-Dade are up almost 4% from where they actually were last year. And there is under 5 months of supply, which is a very tight market. And get this, the medians climbed in 172 out of the last 175 months. That's not weeks, but months. That's about 14 straight years of a market that only knows one direction. So when you see that headline and picture the house that you want finally getting cheaper, those two are just not connected. The falling number is the condos in Brickell, downtown, pretty much everywhere condos are stacked up right now across Miami. The house that you want, the single family home, went the opposite direction. Now, there's one small corner of the single family market where that's actually not quite true, and that's in South Miami, but we'll come back to that. Everywhere else, the story's holding. But maybe you're thinking, fine, I'll just hold out for a better price on the one that I do want. But price is a much smaller piece of this than it actually feels like. What you pay every month isn't just one number, it's four. The price, your rate, your insurance, and your property taxes. When you fixate on price, you're just simply watching one of them while actually ignoring the other three. So let's look at the other three that you're not watching right now. Let's start with the rate, because a year ago, the 30-year was somewhere around 6.74%. Right now, it's a little lower and hovering around 6.58%. And look, that's not a huge move, but let's kind of take a notice on that direction, because it's actually not working against you. And then we have insurance. And I know you've read the horror stories. Florida premiums exploding, companies pulling out. So this part here is actually going to surprise you. Right now, it's actually coming down. Citizens, the state's insurer, cut rates, and here in Miami-Dade, a lot of homeowners are looking at around 13% discount. That's a little over $400 back in your pocket on an average policy. So that thing that everybody keeps warning you about is actually moving the other way right now. And then there's the one that quietly wrecks people, property taxes. Here's a trap, and I'm gonna be honest, it catches almost every family moving here. You find a house, you look it up, you see your current tax bill, and it looks totally reasonable. So you actually go ahead and budget around it. What nobody tells you is that number belongs to the current owner, not to you. Florida has a cap called Save Our Homes that holds an owner's taxable value down the longer they stay, but it doesn't transfer when the house sells. The day you buy, the county resets that value to what you actually paid. And that bill can jump pretty hard sometimes. Sometimes it actually doubles, and I've seen it even go a little bit higher than that for some. And look, I tell every family this before they ever write an offer. And honestly, some still wave it off. And look, those are the calls that I hate getting in December. So I never let a family budget off the seller's tax line. I run it at about a 2% of the purchase price. Is it usually exactly 2%? And the honest answer to that, it's no, but it can come in a little bit lower. But I'd rather build in that cushion than watch someone fall for a house that they can't carry once the bill actually lands. And it's usually not the higher earners who get caught. They can actually absorb it. It's that first-time home buyer, the ones who trusted the number sitting right there on the actual listing. And some of this sometimes gets done on purpose. And hear me out here. I've seen new developments where the lender qualifies the buyer off the taxes on an empty lot before a thing is even built. Then the reassessment hits, plus the community fees, and the payment they actually signed up for is not the payment that they're actually gonna get. So a lower price does help you here through that reset. That part is actually real, but the other numbers are either stable or finally moving in a better direction. And nobody, including me, can honestly promise that they'll actually stay that way. Now, this is the part that I want you to hear because it flips the whole decision. You're waiting for a crash to hand you negotiating power, to finally put you in the driver's seat with an actual seller. And what that misses is simple. That power is already here, right now. You don't need the crash. Look at what sellers are actually doing. A year ago, single family homes across Miami-Dade were getting around 91 cents on every dollar of their original asking price. Today, it's down about 89. Doesn't sound like much until you put a real number on it. On a home, let's just say around $700,000, 2 or more points off of the original list price is around $14,000 in savings. And that's 14 grand on the table today for a buyer who actually knows how to ask. And it's not just about price. Homes are honestly sitting longer. Average days on market went from 66 to about 76 over the same year. And I know how that sounds. Fewer homes for sale, but they're actually taking longer to sell. Both of those things are actually true right now, and they don't cancel each other out. There are fewer homes on the market than there was a year ago, but buyers actually slow down too. So the ones that are listed sit longer, and the sellers are actually coming down to meet you. When a house sits, the sellers actually get nervous, and a nervous seller starts to negotiate on price, on repairs, on closing costs, on your actual timeline. So look at what you're really doing when you actually wait. You're sitting out of a market that's already tilting your way, hoping for a bigger tilt that may or may never come. The crash that you're waiting on is supposed to deliver exactly what you can already get today. But say none of that moves you. You still want to wait. Then we have to talk about what that waiting itself is actually costing you, because this is the number that never shows up anywhere. When you wait to buy, it actually feels free. Nothing hits an actual closing statement, but you've already decided something about your current setup that isn't actually working. Maybe you stay where you are. Maybe you rent here first. Either way, waiting actually has a cost to it. It may show up as rent, another move, repeated trips to Miami, or another year living in a home or location that your family has already outgrown. And here's a cost that nobody puts on a list. While you wait, the houses are still disappearing. Active listing across Miami-Dade are down almost 50% from a year ago. That doesn't mean every house suddenly has multiple offers. It means that the overall selection is shrinking right now, especially among the better homes that families are actually going after. And look, there's one more to all of this. That rate that's slightly in your favor today, nobody can promise it stays there. If it climbs while you sit, your buying power actually shrinks. And that can actually cost you more house than any price dip would have ever handed back. And at some point, waiting stops being a strategy and just becomes the thing that you do instead of actually deciding. So here is one last thing for your radar, and then the honest answer. There's a property tax amendment on the Florida ballot this November that could mean real savings for new buyers, but only if the voters actually pass it. And it could only apply to a part of your actual tax bill. And whether you'd even qualify may hinge on your residency by year end. And even the experts don't fully agree yet on how the actual fine print reads. So I'm not handing you a deadline or telling you to actually rush. I'm telling you it exists, it could matter for your timing, and it's worth 10 minutes with an actual tax professional before you decide to wait a year. And if this is the part where your head starts spinning, that's the whole reason I actually do this. If you want help mapping this against your own numbers and timing, my contact info is down in the description below. So after all of that, should you actually wait? And my honest answer, and I'm not gonna be wishy-washy, it all depends. For most families I've talked to who've already decided Miami, waiting isn't a strategy, it's just a delay. But, and this actually matters, waiting is the right call for some people, and I won't pretend otherwise. If you're buying a condo and not a house, everything I just said actually flips. The market genuinely favors you right now. Take your time, negotiate hard, and if your income isn't stable yet or the job bringing you here isn't fully locked, don't force it. A house you can't carry is worse than another year of renting. And if you've got no cushion left after the down payment, wait and build one first. The tax reset alone will actually humble you if you're stretched thin. And if South Miami specifically is where you're set on landing, that's the one pocket that actually softened lately. Sellers there are giving a little bit more. So in that corner, some patience or harder negotiation might genuinely actually pay you. But if your decision's made, your income's solid, and you can actually carry the home, you're just waiting for a headline to tell you it's okay to do the thing that you already decided to do. And you already have everything that crash was actually supposed to give you. So the real question is Miami crashing. It's whether waiting is a plan for your family or just a fear with a calendar attached to it. And now you can honestly answer that. So if you've decided waiting isn't the play and the leverage is already sitting there for you, the next question is how you actually use it. Because most buyers leave real negotiating power on the table without ever knowing that it's there. I broke down exactly what they miss and how to actually use it in this video right here, and I'll see you over there.